If you want to submit your battles to the CL highlights, there's a link in the description, so check that out.
Continue.
Hey yo everyone, and welcome to a new video. So, with a new update coming soon, one of the Pokemons that people are hyped about is the new Evil Zygarde. And just to let you guys know that the update day has changed, there was an announcement today. So the update day will be on the 18th of this month and not on the 12th. So it's not tomorrow, sadly, so we have to wait like one more week. Anyways, moving on to this new Evil Zygarde, this crazy badass looking Zygarde. Today we will be taking a look at his skills, so I will give you guys my opinion on this Zygarde and also the wish star that I have over here translated as well. So without further ado, let's get into it. Of course, all the credits to these translations and gameplay are going to Alite, so if you guys have not been subscribed to Alite yet, just go ahead and subscribe to this guy because he deserves it for all the work that he has put translating a bunch of Pokemon from the Chinese version previously. Okay, moving on, let's go over here to my skill translation over here, and let's start with a passive. So, at the beginning of each round, it marks a random allied Pokemon with bind and a random a random enemy Pokemon with bind. So basically what this bind is, as you guys can see, like this little red aura. So at the beginning of each round, he marks a random ally and a random enemy with this kind of red aura over there. And what does this red aura do? So this bind increases 30% skill power, tenacity, and defense, and it can be stacked 5 times to your allies. So if you do have that on your allies, it increases all of that. But on your enemies, it has a different effect. It will decrease 20% skill power, restriction damage, and tenacity. So you decrease a bunch of stats to a random enemy, and you increase a bunch of stats to a random ally. Now, there's some kind of a confusion over here, because you guys know, like, Chinese translations are always a little bit hard to understand, especially when we cannot test the Pokemon. We really have to wait for the Pokemon to come out to be able to test everything decently. But over here, for each tier of bind, I believe that it's on your Pokemon, all of the dark and fairy type Pokemon's target skill power is reduced by 25%, and all of the ally Pokemon restriction damage reduction by 20%. Okay, so from this, I would understand that if the enemy is marked with bind, the skill power of dark and fairy type is reduced by 25%. So on top of all of this debuffs over here, you also have those in case they have this typing. And on your allies, you also have 20% restriction damage reduction. And then there's an extra effect. So one of the things that I forgot to mention is that this Zygarde, besides being is a dragon and ground type, so exactly like the normal Zygarde, but he's also special attack. So, which is something that we would not expect from a Zygarde. Zygarde is supposed to be just physical attacker, but this one is a special attacker. So, and if this Zygarde has an Overlord Zygarde on the team, and I believe this will work for Resonance Zygarde as well. If it doesn't, it's a bug, and devs should fix it, obviously. So if there's an Overlord Zygarde on the team, this Overlord Evil Zygarde gets Overlord Zygarde's passive skills. Okay, this can be huge, but we'll have to wait and see how it works with the Resonance itself. Also, physical attack is converted into special attack and gets exclusive characteristics. All allied Pokemon increases 50% skill power and 25% damage reduction. This can be interesting, yes indeed, and all the skills can attack Pokemon that are flying, diving, digging, shadow salt, etc, etc, and increase your own special attack in battle by 10%. So far, so good, like interesting Pokemon. Let's just read the rest really quick and I'll give my opinion later. Ignoring and dispelling Guardian Spirit on the skill 1 and dealing Dragon type special attack damage. If the target is marked by the bind, it increases 100% skill power and turns 50% of the damage into self HP. And the only difference for the Z skill is that it will deal an additional 150% skill power and can hit the enemies anywhere they are, like diving, flying, etc. But the thing is, remember that if there's a Zygarde in the team, an Overlord, or probably a Resonant Zygarde on the team, he already does this, so we are going to kind of ignore this part over here. But let's keep in mind that this is a single target skill with 120 skill power, so it's not an ultimate, and it's already a really high base skill power. Skill number 2, ignoring and dispelling shields. And also, if the target has been marked by bind, the damage is based on special attack, and on 30% of max HP ignores defenses. So it's a group skill with 80 skill power. I do not expect this to do like that much damage, but since it ignores defenses, can be a good thing. The only difference for the Z skill, it is that instead of 30% of the max HP, it's 50% of the max HP. So we can assume that this Zygarde can be like a tanky boy doing damage with this skill, but we would have to wait and see, because this is like a group skill and it's a low skill power, so it might not do as much damage as we could be expecting. Going to skill number 3, it's still a group skill with 60 skill power, but this one is more interesting because when you release this skill, you will when releasing this skill for each tier of bind on the okay, this part over here, I was missing this part. So ignores Guardian Spirits, right, and then marks all the enemies with bind. So instead of having like a random enemy marked with bind, this skill over here will mark all the enemies with bind. And not just that, if you use the Z skill, you will mark all the Pokemon with bind. So even your allies and your enemies. And remember, going back to the passive, we can have like it's a bunch of buffs for your allies and a bunch of debuffs for your enemies. So could be interesting, right? And when you release the skill, for each tier of bind that you hit on the enemy, increase 25% of your own speed, skill power for 2 rounds, can be stacked up to 5 times. So this could be interesting as a build-up for like you start building up your stats this way. And of course the skill can hit flying, diving, yada yada, and if there's enemies that are flying, you basically remove them from the flying state. And as I was saying, the Z skill, the only difference is like you will make a bind to all the Pokemon, not just the enemies. Nothing much else over here, and let's go to the skill number 4, an ultimate, which is something that I was not expecting to happen. Because I've heard like multiple players talking about like, well, the new Zygarde, it will dispel spotlights and stuff like that, but this might not be as viable as people were expecting, because honestly, from what I did remember, from what some people told me, it's supposed to be like when this Pokemon moves, it dispels spotlights, but apparently that's not going to be the case unless there is some missing translation over here. Because with the ultimate is the only thing that says that it dispels all the spotlight effects. But let's take a look at this. Ignores and dispels Guardian Spirits, right? Dispels all the buffs, so this is awesome. And spotlight effects. Dispels all the buffs on the target and spotlight effects, which means, like from my understanding over here, of course this is all assumptions based on the translations, we will need to test it out, you guys know, it's Bugland Legends after all, but basically, you would need to use your ultimate on the spotlight, because you need to remove the target that you attack, the spotlight effects from the target. So, I mean, if you need to use your ultimate on the spotlight, that just doesn't make much sense, right? It's like It's like, thank you for nothing. Okay, I used my ultimate now. Yeah, I don't know. It's like it feels useless because you are already targeting the spotlight, and that would not be the main thing. If you want to remove spotlights, you don't want to attack the spotlight, right? So this is the only bad thing. We would still would need to wait to see if it's actually exactly like this, but apparently it is. But anyways, for each bind mark on the target, it will increase 50% damage, so this is freaking awesome. And the skill can hit flying, diving, taking Pokemon, blah, blah, yada yada. If they are flying, you remove the flying. And if there's an Overlord Zygarde on the team, the Overlord Evil Zygarde deals 100% more, 100% damage to all the enemies. So with 170 skill power, this seems like a one-shot skill. Seems like a skill that does a lot of damage, and it has like some kind of extra thunder effect. You guys know Resonance Mewtwo X? It has a fairy move that you can target one Pokemon, but it also deals damage to all the Pokemon around them. This should work exactly the same way. Going to the Z skill, the only thing that is different over here is that for each bind mark on the target, you will increase 70% damage instead of 50%. And honestly, I don't think there's anything else. Now, there's something over here that might be different, which is on the normal skill, we have ignoring and dispelling Guardian Spirit, dispelling all the buffs on the target, and spotlight effects. And now on the Z skill, it says ignores and dispels Guardian Spirit and spotlight effects, and absorbs all buffs on the target. So since this is like a switched way of the translations over here, I could assume that maybe the Z skill, you don't need to target the spotlight. Maybe. And you're doing increased damage for each tier of bind, and then all the other things, yada yada, which is the same thing. So I would say that probably the Z skill, you don't need to target the spotlight. If this is true, maybe it would make more sense and maybe would be more viable. Now, just before we jump into the Wish Star, let's just do a quick recap on the Pokemon, just for my opinion, okay? So it seems like it's a Pokemon that will do a lot of damage, of course, but I don't think like in the top tier against the Resonance, this Pokemon would survive at all. Of course, it also gets all of the Overlord Zygarde passive skills. We don't know if it would get the Resonance Zygarde passive skills. And one of the things like in the top tier is you would need to make this Pokemon move. And honestly, making a dragon or ground type Pokemon move, it's going to be a little bit hard because there's no like Overlord weather buffers that would move a ground or a dragon type Pokemon. It would be really hard. I believe like in the lower powers, this would be like a very strong Pokemon, but like the more power you get, the more speeds you get, etc, etc. I don't think it would be a good Pokemon for the top tier. But we will have to wait and see to see how it works in battle. And now finally for our Wish Star. Let's check out the Wish Star I have over here in Chinese. If you guys understand Chinese, feel free, or if you guys want to translate yourselves, this is my translation, and let me just explain to you like based on what I understand from over here. So basically, during the battle, all your Pokemon's skill power or skill damage will be increased by 15%, and also all of the enemy Pokemon will have their restriction damage reduced by 15%. So this seems like a Wish Star that could stack. What I mean is like you can have like 3 of these Wish Stars in your team, or 2 of these wish stars on your team, and you would be reducing the restriction damage of the enemy and have your skill power increase for all of your team. And even if your Pokemon dies, this wish star could still be working. This is just an assumption. It seems like a really strong wish star, especially for the meta that we are playing, and honestly even for Zygarde itself, because for those who play Resonance Zygarde, One of the things that you guys struggle against is usually against black and white Kyurem and restriction damage, so if you are reducing restriction damage from the enemy, it all makes better, it's all good for the Zygarde. But yeah, this is it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget, I will leave all the links in the description for the skill translations and for the A-Light videos if you guys want to see this big boy Zygarde on action. Just feel free. He plays with the Overlord Zygarde and the normal Zygarde just to have like a better understanding of the Pokemon. And yeah, this is it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys on the next video.